USA Rugby men's Eagles booked their spot to Australia 2027 Rugby World Cup with a 29 points to 13 win over Samoa in the PNC in Denver. It was scenes. It was wild. Can rugby rise in America? Is this the big moment? As not just a 2027 World Cup, but also a 2031 home men's World Cup is on the horizon. There's lots to talk about, there's lots to get through, and we have special guest, head coach Scott Lawrence, coming up to talk it all. Hello and welcome to a Rugby Rundown special. Myself, Will Hooley, wearing my former USA Eagles jersey because this bad boy came from the World Cup the last time the Eagles were there. I'm joined by my partner in crime, Alex Corbisiero. Corbs, man, it's good to see you. It's good to see you. We're doing it again.
Been a bit long. Nice to see you again, mate. Obviously, been an interesting time all around, but yeah, definitely something to cheer about this weekend, which was nice to see.
Did you, I want to get straight into it. Like, I know you saw the result. You might have seen bits, but like, oh boy, was that win needed for American
So
rugby.
needed, mate. I felt like it reminded me of like, you know, like in the movies, someone's almost like about to die and they get like a shot of adrenaline and they go again. Like, I feel like we've just been given a good shot of adrenaline and now we got to use that to actually get back on track and get up and running and stuff. But yeah, really, really welcome, like sort of bit of wind in the sails and just good to see the Eagles finally click. And, you know, it's one of those things you got to weigh up. Like, you know, I've been reflecting on it as I've been watching through the summer. And I think with the more time together, you're starting to see, you know, improvements in the team. But then potentially maybe the lads not being in too many teams in our league doesn't help that connective tissue where now they've had more time together. You're starting to see actually a better Eagles team because I think our player pool is actually better than it's ever been.
I agree. And I think the other thing as well is like, let's not sort of put paper over the cracks here. It was a interesting PNC tournament for USA, like, and we'll get into it when we speak to head coach Scott Lawrence. He's very upfront about it. Like, losing to Canada, bro, losing to Canada in that first game of the PNC. I don't know about you, but I was shocked. I did not see that coming. It was a poor Eagles performance. We've done it the hard way and we've gone beating Samoa.
I know. I'm just so happy we did it because I was starting to get worried of like, all right, where's the next one? Back to back with Chile or wherever it ends up. So I'm very happy they did it, and obviously impressive win. And you saw the emotion after the game as well, and what it means to everyone. Obviously, since 2019, you guys were last there, and you know, with all that's going on here, another World Cup cycle not in the mix at all, and not exposed to that with an expanded tournament bracket as well, would have been a pretty heavy blow. So the fact we've got it takes a little bit of pressure off. It allows like more long-term strategic planning in this cycle to 27, but then probably secures a little bit more of the confidence and investment that the US is going to need to sort of grow the market and be in a position in 2031 to maximize this.
I think you're spot on, man. And look, I was bouncing off the walls. I know my accent doesn't give it away, but having played for the US and also gone to that last World Cup, as I say, wearing my colours with pride. I know you have a massive American connection as well. You being a citizen over here, so like, you know how much this meant, and I also know how much it meant to the players and Scott Lawrence. So I think this is the perfect opportunity, Corbs, to bring in Scott, hear from the head coach himself. It was a crazy PNC campaign, but they did it, and they qualified. Here is Scott Lawrence. Congratulations. You're going to the 2027 Rugby World Cup. How did Sunday feel at that final whistle?
I felt really good for the players and the staff. You know, I just you know, kind of maybe sat back a minute. The coaches were running downstairs, and I sat up with our analyst Jimmy Harrison, who's been here through a lot of coaches, and is probably the most brilliant rugby mind in America that never gets credit for it. And you know, we just sat and watched the players and the coaches, and just happy for them, really, really happy for them, in the face of a lot of things. So that was my biggest feeling, I guess, at the end of that.
Talk me through a little bit of the actual game itself. Obviously finishing off 29-13 to the Eagles and booking that ticket to Australia. But it was a roller coaster of a game. I literally lived through the TV, I swear, on my feet the whole time. As you as head coach, going into the halftime break, what was your underlining sort of feeling and chat to the guys through what was such an important match?
I think the big thing was that we had a plan to break it open in the last 20 minutes of the game. And we knew two things were really big, and discipline and physicality, and we felt in the first half that we got the physicality where we needed it. But the discipline was not where it needed to be. We were committing really silly penalties, to be honest. We call them reds, and so we just went in halftime, and it was really easy. We did our normal problem-solving thing, but my message to the team was, we're down to 14 men. This is how we're going to handle the tackle contest area with numbers and et cetera. But the most important thing is that we be the best disciplined and most physical team we've ever been for the next 10 minutes until that yellow card is done. And, they went 14, I think it was 14 minutes. I might be wrong, but 12 to 14 minutes without a penalty. And, Pono came back on at 47 with a nice rest between halftime and his yellow card, which gave us a little more time in the saddle for our starting tight head. So that was my feeling was, as long as we can scramble and hold this thing at bay for 7 minutes, get Pono back on, and the final 20 could be ours.
I mean, there were so many great performances from individuals. It wasn't a perfect team performance. I know you'd happily admit that. But there were certain areas which were just so much better than what we've maybe seen previously in the PNC. I'm talking the line-out being one of them. I mean, it was almost like night and day. Defensively, I mean, that last try at the end, you must have felt, and we talked off air about this, like that was probably the most rewarding aspect. Like, what was the change in everything building into the week? It just felt like there was a confidence there that was not there before previously in this tournament.
I think you have to understand our mindset as Americans. And our mindset is that hard work pays off. Maybe just a little bit of a story. Going into the first round of the PNC in Canada, between the weather and the field availability and the depth of the squad, etc., we did not prepare at the proper amount of intensity that we needed. We had good clarity, but we did not have the intensity, and we got exposed. And so when I flew home from that day, first conversation was with our AP staff, and they said, we're going to have to take a risk here, and we're going to have to raise the intensity and the contact load of what we're doing, because this is how this is our game model, for one. This is what we value and love work and energy, two. Probably flipped that order, and this is how our players get confidence. So you wouldn't have seen it fully. You lose 47-21 to Japan, but for me, that was a stepping stone for us.
Agreed.
Because we said, look, we're going to train at the intensity we need to. So we went to Chula. We did that. We said, we want you to play for 80, and we wanted to score in the final quarter. And we did those things. There was 3 tries down the short side in that game, which were simply just game understanding mistakes from our young playing base. You take that away, that's 26-21. We're probably having a different conversation about that performance, And then, our 22 conversion. We were patient. We held onto the ball. We spent time there, got the contact density, got our rolls right, and we scored when we got into the 22. So it was really a build, and we said, okay, look, if we go into this next game and we continue to raise this intensity, train at the level we need to, kind of rev the RPM, so to speak, redline it a little bit, take a little bit of risk in that prep, because it'll give us confidence. Then it'll build the toughness we need to go do this. And you go into Denver and you start doing that in altitude, and you start training that way. You push when most people are tapering, because they're into maybe a semifinal or not, but we're not. We're ramping at that time. So I knew that they had been there. They knew they had been there mentally, physically. And as I watched the game unfold, I just realized it was a very slow-moving game. And so, that kind of impacted the way I subbed, and ultimately gave me more confidence as the game went on that we were going to have, fuel in the tank to go forward. But you look at our 22 conversions, other than that drop on the pass, we converted every time we got in, came away with points. So, that's what the game comes down to: discipline, set piece, territory, 22 conversions. You do those things, you're usually in an okay spot to at least compete.
I agree. And the intensity and the physicality was there. You were right. I thought some of those substitutes that came on, big shout out to Caleb Geiger, obviously getting that last try. He was superb. There were stalwarts everywhere. The likes of Jason Darm leading from the front. Corey Daniel was superb. Credit to Luke Carty. Maybe just a quick one, because Luke's a great story in itself. Wasn't originally kind of in your team. Late changes, comes into camp late. I as a former 10, I know he maybe missed a few goals, but I just thought he really did show great game management.
Luke took an injury, in that game that would have put most guys on the sideline, especially at his position. And he gutted it out, So the fact that he missed the goals, shots at goal, we knew what was going on. It was an easy decision. We had Mitch Wilson in the squad as a backup goal kicker, as well. So it's part of the reason why Mitch was picked. So we knew that we had a distance so we could kick goals. And as we started to realize how well we were converting in the 22, well, let's just go to the corner then. At that point, you just kind of adapt as the game goes on.
Yeah, and you did, and had the success. I suppose one of the last couple of questions, and I realise, Scott, just for your time at the moment, I thank you so much, because I'm sure you just want to get away from rugby for a bit. But how much... You're sweet. You're dialed in now. You're dialed in.
You're my third meeting of the day, so we're 24 hours, and then we've got work to do.
I want to know really about how much pressure did you feel? Because there's no doubt about it. The skeptics were out there. Everyone was maybe questioning. I myself was questioning, where was this performance going to come from, particularly after that game against Canada, which was, safe to say, disappointing. Eric Stort even told me to her face, like, there was a feeling of letting people down, in whatever way you want to call it. How did you tackle that? Because, Scott, I'm going to just say this. You've saved rugby in America, as simple as that. I want to know how you have dealt with all the pressure.
I think this team has. I think there's a lot of people. It'd be hard to say that I personally saved anything. I just got the opportunity to coach the team. But I'd say, it's no secret. I wear it on my sleeve. My faith has an immense part of the way that I live my life, and we just had such. It was hard, to lose that game and to play that way, and to there was some disappointment. I felt for the players, but throughout all of it, I just kind of continued prayer and devotion, and realized that the results were up to someone else, and that we just needed to stick with it. And I kept reminding the team that belief comes from two things. First is giving yourself wholly to something else, whether that's faith or the team. And for some guys it was faith, and for some guys it was the team. And to be selfless and to give to each other when it gets hard. And so if you say that, you got to live it. And the second thing is hard work. So you just get less sleep and work harder and just keep, pushing your way through it. So yeah, I can't say I felt disappointment. I didn't feel pressure. I haven't in a long time since I got reconnected with my faith, I guess.
Yeah, that's a really honest remark, and I think now you've got the future in front of you, the runway towards 2027. All these things have come out about investment coming in from World Rugby, There's a game against Scotland in Murrayfield on November 1st, which is hugely exciting about. When you look at the future now towards 2027, is there anything that you are, already planning and getting excited, or can maybe even tell fans, now that the box is ticked, you're off to the World Cup, do things change now?
No, I think things will always change. We're always trying to get better. That's the nature of what we do. Personally, team-wise, professionally. This is a part of a bigger plan. Gemini is not just qualification, it's also performance at the 27 World Cup. We have a junior world championship for our 20s next year, which is still in the 2031 playing generation, that we need to get behind. And we have some work to do in our domestic league and competitions in terms of
yes,
the development of U.S. talent. It's time to stop funding Canadian and Pacific Island pathways. It's time to start getting behind the U.S. So, we got some things to do there.
I love that. I know you could go far more into detail on that front. But look, Scott, I'm going to let you go because I really appreciate your time. Thank you on behalf of everyone in the nation, anyone who's been a former Eagle, current Eagle, a fan or whatever, thank you. I know it's only going to be exciting things coming to the future now for USA Rugby. So, Scott Lawrence, thanks for your time.
Thank you.
There you have it. Scott Lawrence. So humble as always. I love, by the way, Corbs, you said at the end there about now with domestic rugby, it's about USA. It's not about the Canadian talent. It's not about the Pacific Islander talent. He said, I want to see it now, the rise of domestic American talent. He is a guy on a mission towards 2027 and beyond, of course.
Yeah, well, it's good to see him a little more, crack a smile and stuff as well. I'm sure it's been a pressure cooker for him. But yeah, I think if you really look at the mission statement of the MLR, like for rugby to go well here, the national team's going to have to synergize with that because they're a massive beacon of fans. They're the easiest touch point to cheer for that will get in the sport. So yeah, I think a focus on domestic talent, especially with potentially this season looking like less teams and stuff in the MLR, more Americans and more of them playing together makes more sense for this because it doesn't spread our domestic depth as across the team. So you'll probably get more in the ranks.
I think you're right. I think there's also let's just, call a spade a spade. Like, domestically, professionally in the US, it's taken a beating in the last couple of months. Big things have come out around the teams that have folded in MLR. It's tough for me personally as someone who works within the league. I do not know everything, buddy. You know that. We have conversations all the time. I feel like everyone.
Hey, man, no one knows anything. I think that's the reality is we're hoping for the best, and we're hoping that the groups come together and find the way to make it work. I think no one wants to see any teams drop out, and everyone's hoping that there is a solution that makes this a league that's viable again this year to go ahead. And I
think it will.
Hoping and praying, and I think I know there's ownership groups that are very committed to it, so it's just making sure that they can all agree and get a plan together that is financially viable for them, that they're willing to commit to, and still, lives up to what the product has been and kind of keeps the MLR brand alive and how you want it to be.
I agree, man. And without giving too much away of very small stuff I know, those plans are already kind of moving. And I just know that win on Sunday was massive. And it's not just obviously for USA Rugby, but even something like the MLR, there is now the pathway that is going to be it's going to have to be there for the players if they want to go to 2027 and then 2031, and then the investment, the owners really is going to mean something.
Just think of all the games you get together, all the time you spend in a World Cup together. I'll be honest, the most mental growth I had in England camps and everything were World Cup camps. 2011 World Cup, massive preseason, games together, 6 weeks playing together. That's where you really get that growth. And to be robbed of that as an Eagle team would have been pretty tough because that will get a lot of rounds in the saddles. It'll blood a lot of youngsters and people. They'll get used to the bigger scene, what it all entails. So when we do get to 2031, that crop will be a lot better prepared. So I think it is important that we're there,
100%, man. And as I say, having a domestic league is going to be so important as well. It gives the time for Scott to to see these players more often. I'm hoping, therefore, more American domestic talent gets those spots in those MLR teams. We'll obviously wait to find out what the scheduling and everything looks like. But, like, you have to look at some form of positivity now moving forward. Like, I spoke to Marcel Bracchi, former USA Eagle, former teammate of mine, former San Diego Legion. You know him well as well. And he said something so true. This is now a period of, like, we've got 6 years to 2031. We never had that in the USA Rugby. We have a World Cup 27, but 2031, like, the investment comes in. Corbs, I want to get you straight away. That big article that came out in the Sports Business Journal, really interesting.
250 million.
270 million that is going to be invested between now and the World Cups. I think there was a bit of ill feeling, I think, by the international community. Certainly South Americans are like, well, hold on, like, they haven't even qualified for a World Cup. Like, why has this been talked about? But now, like, it feels like everything is just fitting into a place where, like, that's going to be warranted. I hope it's going to be used in the best way. Like, what's your take with all that kind of, like, motion now?
Well, listen, it green lights probably what the plan was. Do you know what I mean? So obviously if we'd missed, maybe that money is not in the same way or not used in the same way. Who knows? I have no idea. But I think getting that sort of green stamp we're in probably releases a lot of tension in the room for World Rugby to give that funding. And then, like, I'll be honest, like, I can't see an argument why other people would be upset about it. Maybe I'm biased because I have American ties. But I'm like, listen, guys, rugby, you need us. You need this World Cup in 31. Why do you think they're putting 270 million in? How much do you think they're thinking they can generate in this World Cup? How big can it get? If you're going to invest that means you're expecting a lot higher up from that. And so that kind of is the exciting side too, that I'd be saying, listen, if we can get this right and we can get a proper World Cup hissing here, and we have an Eagles that have a competitive nature in the tournament, like that is a recipe for the biggest catalyst in the growth that the sport could possibly have, other than maybe a Lona Mar or a World Cup win for the women's or something that really takes it to another level. That's probably the biggest moment we're going to have to really make our stamp here. And we need to make as many people remember it, see it, spend money on it, grow it, and then want to continue in that rugby ecosystem afterwards.
I agree, man. Again, forgive me, maybe I'm biased. We've got to be positive. We've all got to be positive, whether you're involved in collegiate rugby in this country, whether you're involved in club rugby, the grassroots, those Imagine Rugby programs, bringing rugby into schools. Like, there is, like, the carrot's now not even dangling out in front of you now. Like, it's there. Like, it's there. And I go back to say, like, that result on Sunday, I couldn't help but feel, as someone who works within rugby here in the US, I woke up on Monday morning, particularly after the news of the Houston SaberCats, I woke up on Monday morning genuinely positive. I was like, there's
adrenaline in the leg, mate. You got
there's 100%. How can we not think like that?
That's what I'm saying. You got that shot. You're back. You're back.
I know. Well, we obviously we'll wait and see. I know, like, scheduling and everything like that, there's a lot of, like, talk that's going to be going on in the league office between now and when the league starts next year. I know, obviously, the Eagles, they will have a break now, but they come back together for USA. They play Scotland November 1st in Murrayfield, bro. I mean, like, November's going to be a great... Yeah, those are the best when they don't have the pressure of, like, I'm going to go to Chile and maybe a repechage. Like, you're going to see the best out of the Eagles. I'm telling you.
Get a little taster at Tier 1. Obviously, Murrayfield's going to be tough in November because there'll be guns blazing for that one at home. But I think, yeah, like, we need this player pool to be exposed to that. You know what I mean? Like, it has to keep growing. There's such, like, low cap numbers in a lot of this Eagles team that those Tier 1 tests, especially after significant time together, Tier 1 tests, sometimes the July ones are quite tough because you've literally just finished club. You have like a week together and then you're playing, you know, England or something, or maybe 1 or 2 games you play England, where I feel like hitting in November, a bit more connective tissue, then playing on a big stage. It's exciting for those boys, and hopefully it just accelerates the development curve of this Eagles group.
100%, man. Look, let's have lots of positive thoughts moving forward with the Eagles, with the MLR, whatever you're involved in rugby in the US. And I just also hope, like, the fans, like, I know there's been a lot of skeptics. Oh boy, I feel like I was one of them at times as well, Corbs. I'm sure you were
It's hard
as well.
not
But
to
like,
be at times. It's hard not to be. Like, you're hoping for the best and you're passionate, but then your brain's seeing a few not positive signs, and it's hard not to at least like have that little voice creeping in there as much. But yeah, I think definitely a sunnier place than we were a week ago. So put it that way, we'll take it.
100%. Well, look, stay tuned with us because we're going to make sure that here on the Rugby Rundown, you're joining us on our YouTube channel. Make sure you hit the subscribe button, the Rugby Rundown YouTube. Go and get us on social media as well. We're still active there. And Corbs, actually another one. I'm actually looking to be speaking with Jason Darm, captain of USA Eagles, speaking with him soon. And the big one as well, hopefully you'll be around for, is to sit down with Bill Gore and CEO of USA Rugby. He said he'll come on for a chat, just to talk it out. What is this money going to go towards? We're going to hear more about it then. But mate, just I hope you're good, man. It feels weird.
I'm all right. Quickly, while everyone's watching, I just need to give a couple shout-outs for myself. Obviously, changing sort of job transitions and ventures. So if you are watching this show and you are interested in my online Scrum coaching platform that I'm building with the Virtual Rugby Academy, and that can be for players or coaches, and that can be scaled up to your package. So any of the college coaches that watch this, I can pretty much give you your season playbook for the year. And then lastly as well, bio. ASM Sports as well. I'm involved with the ASM Sports, sort of helping facilitate international students come to America with either rugby scholarships or just placement and sort of facilitating the process, because there's a very vast landscape. So if you're a college coach watching this, please hit me up, teamcorbs@gmail.com. Love to chat to you and show you the players I have. And if you're a player watching this and it's outside of the US, make sure you hit me up as well, and I'll see what your resume is like and give you an honest consultation of what your opportunities are, and hopefully find a way to support you.
Hey, we'll put that in the description. Well done, buddy. Good to see you, Corbs. Up USA Rugby. They're heading to the World Cup in 2027. Stay tuned with us. We'll have more coming.